Final Fantasy XIV's Stormblood expansion and the 4.0 update brought with it changes to the core mechanics for each of the game's jobs. These changes were intended to create a more well-defined gameplay loop for each job and remove any clutter from the job's rotations. It'd take all day to talk about the changes made to every job, and it's going to take me a while to level them up, but today we're going to talk about the warrior, their new skills, and how they can be used in combat. First, in order to make sense of all the new abilities, we need to understand the beast gauge. The beast gauge replaces the old wrath system. It can hold up to 100 resource points, and those points can be spent on abilities that cost either 20 or 50. Switching between Defiance and Deliverance, your defensive and offensive stances respectively will reduce your resources by half. So with that knowledge in mind, let's talk about the new abilities. First up, Onslaught is a dashing attack that deals low damage and increases threat at the cost of 20 beast gauge. It has a 15-second cooldown, which means you can use it often, but that doesn't mean you should. Because it consumes your resources, it's not efficient for dealing damage, and you can maintain threat well enough without it. But it does have its purposes. It's situational. When enemies decide to make a beeline for your group's black mages because they're tired of getting fire sent up their asses, you can use this to pick up the target without interrupting your combos. Furthermore, it's off the global cooldown, so you can weave it in between other skills. One limitation for Onslaught and the 4.0 warrior in general is that you can't generate beast gauge out of combat. So you can't use Onslaught to start a fight when your beast gauge is at 0. Which is unfortunate because sliding across the floor is fun, but it can be used as a part of an opener when paired with other abilities. Overall, Onslaught is great at doing what it was designed to do, in other words picking up stray targets or getting a quick burst of threat. But it's not good at what some people want it to do, namely increasing your damage output. But thankfully there are other skills that do that. Upheaval, or the triple punch as I like to call it, is the damage dealing answer to Onslaught, and it is a truly fantastic skill. It's a 300 potency attack that deals increased damage if you're at a higher health and as your maximum health increases. This causes it to deal more damage when you're in Defiance, which is cool because you can dish out a powerful attack without needing to compromise on your defense. It's a simple ability, but it's very satisfying to use because of the synergy it has with the warrior's offensive and defensive abilities. Combo Upheaval with Thrill of Battle and Berserk and you'll knock someone's head off. The only downside is that it consumes your beast gauge, so if you're using Upheaval every time it comes off cooldown, you won't be able to use Inner Beast as much. But when you consider how cool this ability looks, I think it's a fair trade. Shake It Off is next, and it's the worst of the new abilities, simply because it doesn't get much use. The way Final Fantasy XIV is designed, there aren't many occasions in which you need to remove debuffs from yourself. And besides that, any healer that's halfway decent or not stoned out of his mind will cleanse debuffs before they do much harm to you. I imagine there are going to be a few situations where you can use this to save the raid from a wipe, but it's ultimately a disappointment. The worst part for me is that it's taking the place of something that could be cooler. Just imagine Mega Axe Attack. The name is a work in progress, but I've got really amazing ideas of how this is going to work. But anyway, next we have Enhanced Infuriate. This causes your spender abilities, Inner Beast, Decimate, Steel Cyclone, and Fell Cleave to reduce the cooldown of Infuriate by 5 seconds whenever they're activated. This gives you a better uptime on your defensive cooldowns while you're main tanking and increases your DPS while you're off tanking. What I'm finding most interesting about this trait is that in order to get its maximum effectiveness, you have to keep Infuriate on cooldown constantly, and you have to spend your resources constantly as well. But sometimes it's better to hold on to your beast gauge. Finding that balance of spending and saving is fun. Finally, we've got Inner Release. This ability takes the place of Unchained when in Deliverance, and they share a cooldown. On activation, it halves the cost of all beast gauge abilities and makes you immune to most crowd control. The goal with this cooldown is to deal as much damage as possible before it wears off. I don't think I've found the most optimal combination of skills for it yet, but I've managed to get a maximum of 5 Fell Cleaves before the cooldown wears off, but I'm pretty sure it's possible to get 6. If anyone knows how, let me know in the comments. All in all, the new skills and the changes to Warrior's pre-existing skills are very good. They're nerfs in some regards, but in order to fully appreciate them, you have to take a moment to analyze the gameplay loop of the Warrior, and then you'll see how much it's improved because of the changes. There's now a risk and reward associated with all of your actions. Do I spend my beast gauge on upheaval, or do I save it for more inner beasts? One decision means more damage, the other means better survivability. And then of course there's the change to our class resource. Originally we could switch between Deliverance and Defiance, attack and defense whenever we felt like it without any repercussions. Now we have to consider our actions more carefully, and it makes the gameplay more active. There's plenty more that we could talk about with the Warrior, but we're gonna save that for another time. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't be lazy, leave a comment. It makes me feel really good inside. Tingly feelings all in my belly and in my heart. I love it. But if you say something mean, I'm gonna cry, so that's not gonna be nice. Say something nice in the comments, please. You don't have to, but it's recommended. Then you could say you made somebody feel good today. But seriously, that's enough. The name of the game is Final Fantasy XIV. The name of the channel is iBluairJgR Gaming for comedy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.